Welcome to Financial Issues, where we join reality with truth, helping you make the most of your money by honoring God with your investments. Now listen in as we give you the practical tools and advice you need to become a biblically responsible investor.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Financial Issues. Great to be here with you today. Seth Udinsky here with you this morning, as well as Samuel Case and the Studio A team. We're happy to have you this Tuesday, September the 9th. Grateful to be here with you all. Hope you'll join our conversation live this morning, folks. We're live on our chat, as always, financialissues.org. You can join us on Twitter and Rumble and YouTube and Facebook and all the other places that you might choose to watch or listen. Our radio audience, welcome to you. CSN, we're happy to have you all with us this morning in our BTV. Grateful for each and every one of you. Biz Television as well. We're thankful for our audience over at Biz too. Folks, we've got a busy show today. Let's kick it off here. Tariff revenue continues to come in while the Trump administration is still waiting. There's a lot of question marks surrounding if they continue to go ahead with more tariffs, waiting for a ruling from the high court. We'll make some sense of what this means. Pretty serious situation if the high court were to side against Trump with this. Could be dire for our country. We'll see what that means. Not to startle any of you, but it is kind of dire. Also, foreign-born
It's good radio,
employment.
Seth.
You're
laying
radio.
out the stakes right now. Get people
Sam,
to tune in.
See, this is why he's my hype man, okay? Thank you. Thank you. God bless you. So, that's good. Make some sense of what that means. Also, foreign-born employment is dropping, while employment for natural citizens is on the rise. I'll tell you why I really like that. I think it's a good thing. We'll see that soon. Also, your questions and comments, grateful for each of you. And hate for capitalism is growing. And of course, as a young capitalist myself, I have to ask why? Why would you hate capitalism? Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Hey, partners, be on the lookout for this week's commentary, of course. Also, got a text from Craig Halgard, our ag reporter this morning. Keep him in your prayers. He did something to his back late last night, I believe, and so he's in some pain. So keep him in prayer when you think of it. We'll hear our ag report a little later on today. Nonetheless, Craig's a trooper. Let's set the tone here, first of all, folks, with the Word of God. Proverbs 3:27 says, "Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in the power of your hand to do so." This is a verse that Megan and I have been trying to preach to our kids faithfully. They each have opportunities to do good to each other and to us. So we're trying to teach them, if you have the opportunity to do good to someone, don't withhold it, but take that opportunity. The question we have to ask is, when is it appropriate for us to bestow good upon one another? And I think the answer is all the time, whenever you can, whenever you have the opportunity. We should never withhold good from those we come across, no matter if it's family or complete strangers. We want to seek to be a blessing to them. And so the question I have for you folks as you listen is, who is it that comes to mind today for you when you hear this verse? Maybe it's your spouse, maybe it's your kids, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's a person in your life who you don't particularly like all that much, but you have the opportunity to bless nonetheless. Let's be a blessing to those around us for the glory of God. Speaking of blessing, folks, of course, if you missed the last couple shows, we're celebrating here at the ministry as we have, in a very sad way, parted ways with our former host, Shanna Burt. We're welcoming our new host in, Mark Manila. Mark is going to be the full-time host of Financial Issues. In fact, he's coming on the show with me tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. Looking forward to that very much. Mark, one of the core key founders of the biblically responsible investing movement, the modern BRI movement as we know it, that really started back in the 90s with folks like Art Alley and Dan Celia and others. Mark was among them. Decades of experience. His voice will be familiar to many. Keep him in prayer. Keep our team in prayer as he gets ramped up. We are very excited. We had some great meetings yesterday, just getting things ready into the works. And of course, you'll hear Mark's voice on the show over the next several weeks before he gets started fully in October. So keep him in prayer as we march forward with this. Pretty exciting. All right, big news this morning that we saw. Not huge news, but we did get the NFIB Optimism Index. That was out this morning. Sam, what can you tell us about this as we got that earlier?
Yeah, pretty good news. Optimism improved 0.5 points in August to 100.8. That's the highest number we've seen since January. Meanwhile, the uncertainty index fell by 4 points to 93, but still remained well above the historical average. Over half, so about 54% of small business owners did report that supply chains, i.e. Tariffs and their disruptions, were affecting their business to some degree, though only 3% described the disruptions as significant. Most said they were mild to moderate moderate. Meanwhile, labor quality still remains a major issue for small businesses. In fact, they say that's the biggest issue right now, with others also citing problems with inflation and also taxes.
Good stuff, Sam. I appreciate you bringing that up here. I think it makes sense, folks, and I certainly like to see this. I think small businesses are very important for a functioning, good, ordered society. You need small businesses to be able to have the opportunity to succeed. And as we'll talk about later in the show, Sam, you need to allow capitalism to be able to play itself out, which means some small businesses might beat out other small businesses. That's okay. If they provide a better product, better service, better prices, that's what's supposed to happen. And so this optimism number, I think, is a good indicator that we're moving in a good direction for sure. The markets yesterday, a lot of investors were just keeping an eye on the key inflation data we have later this week, PPI, CPI, some other things, but moderately positive for the indices throughout the day yesterday. The NASDAQ did hit a new record. It was the big winner of the day, finished almost 0.5% positive. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 finished about 0.5%, and the Dow about 0.1% positive. The pre-markets
NASDAQ hit a record high, right?
Yes, it did. Yep. The NASDAQ did hit a record high. It was hanging around the record most of the day, and that's where it finished as well. And it's building off of that right now. At least it's looking like for the pre-markets as we sit. The Dow Jones is priced in to open 0.1% positive. Same with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. Once again, leading the way, more like it's an eighth as we're waiting for the markets to open this morning. All right, Sam, let's move to this tariff news here. So August tariff revenue was pretty high, broke $31 billion. Give us the details on this, Sam. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm a simple man, but that seems like a pretty good number,
right,
a lot of money. Seth? Yeah. I'd like $31 billion. Well, and now you have it via the U.S. government. We all have it, right? Because that was the tariff revenue for the month. That was a monthly record for the year of 2025, bringing the total for the year to over $183 billion, which is pretty nice. Meanwhile, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, he recently suggested that revenue could reach $500 billion for the year. Recently, he said it was going to be somewhere around $300 billion, but he's now upped that number by $200 billion. That is if the Supreme Court upholds Trump's reciprocal tariff regime. Meanwhile, Bessent does express confidence that Trump's tariffs policy, he thinks they will be upheld by the Supreme Court, but he did warn, as you said, Seth, there could be major consequences if it's struck down, including the possibility of tariff refunds to the countries we've been tariffing. So here's Bessent explaining that the other day.
So we would have to give a refund on about half the tariffs, which would be terrible for the Treasury.
And you're prepared to give those refunds?
Well, I mean, there's no be prepared. If the court says it, we'd have to do it.
They'd have to do it, Seth. So this wouldn't affect all the tariffs. Specifically, what we're talking about are reciprocal tariffs, and the question as to whether Trump's emergency powers that he's using for this are valid. He's saying the trade imbalance between the United States and other countries is creating a national emergency, thereby he can slap on these tariffs. That's the whole question right here. Because of this whole refund question, however, this is why the Trump administration is asking for an expedited process with the Supreme Court. Make them rule on this now, because Bessent says if they wait till their next session, which I believe is in June, it's in the summer, the tariff revenue could now increase to something like $1 trillion. And if they strike that down, that means we have to pay back that $1 trillion, and that would just be disastrous.
Yeah, brutal. Yeah, Sam, you're exactly right. That's why I said it earlier, in the show, in the introduction, don't be alarmed, but that would be pretty bad if we had to do that. It'd be pretty...
would be not ideal.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, Sam, I appreciate you bringing that up, man. Bessent really is not kidding. If the high courts bow down to the lower courts here and they end up, stiffing Trump's agenda, it really could be brutal. It's interesting. It goes back to Pete's question from yesterday. Pete, we answered your question. I believe it was in the second half of the show, if I'm not mistaken. But asking about how the government should be properly funded. And maybe this is Trump's agenda, funding our nation primarily by strengthening the U.S. business on the world stage, as it were, through tariffs. I think what's more likely is I think Trump is trying to offset the budget with the tariff revenue. So he's still understanding that taxes are going to be the main government funder. But tariffs could certainly help, almost like, if you think about it kind of this way, like a side hustle for the American government. Trump's trying to get back to the America First kind of stance on the world stage. And I'm okay with that as well. I mean, in an ideal world, I'd love to be totally funded by tariffs, especially if that erased property tax and income tax. But it's likely not going to happen. So the big question, of course, Sam, as you said, is when will this get decided and what will SCOTUS rule? And Sam, you had kind of mentioned this, but because of those emergency powers that Trump has, is he still allowed to continue to administer tariffs while he's waiting for the Supreme Court to make a decision?
Right now he can.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I think until at least October. I'm saying that off the top of my head, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I know for right now, at least as of today, he's still doing it.
Okay. And I mean, there's still what would you call it? It's almost like an outstanding tariff decision that we have with China, if I'm not mistaken. That has to be figured
all
out,
the other
right?
tariffs related to fentanyl and things like that, those are still in play as well.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, folks, I said on the show, I think probably last week, don't ever forget to pray for the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has a lot of important decisions to make in the coming court session, and I would agree with Scott Besson. They need to get on their horse and do this pretty.
This is a tough decision because Congress is the holder of the purse. So there's a lot of questions here as to how this is supposed to work.
Exactly. This will play into the question of the balance of power between the three branches of government. Boy, we'll have to see how that plays out. It'll be interesting for sure. Well, more financial issues coming up here, folks. Stick with us. We'll be back after this break.
Navigating through investment options can be challenging, especially when you're determined to uphold your God-given values. Every dollar you invest is a vote for the world that you want to live in. Let your values guide your investment decisions and help to shape the culture in which we live. Become a beacon of light and pave the way with biblically responsible investing. Timothy Plan, where faith and finance collide. Before investing, carefully consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the investment company. This and other important information can be found in the fund's prospectus. To obtain a copy, visit timothyplan.com or call 800-846-7526. Read each prospectus carefully before investing. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Hi, Joe. You're live on Financial Issues.
I don't know a lot about the market and investing, but I've been learning a lot over the years from your ministry. I appreciate that. So thankful and blessed with the new website. It's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for all the hard work.
Thank you guys so much for everything you do. And for anybody listening who's not a partner, this is the best value out there. God bless you all and have a great day.
Go to financialissues.org to get started today.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. On top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn.
Then they sat me down. If you were to die today, do you think you would go to heaven? And I was like, no. Keeping the child was my first stepping stone. And ever since then, God has cleaned me up from the inside out.
Help support women in need. Go to preborn.com/FISM.
I'm enjoying our conversation this morning, folks. I hope you all are as well. Keep an eye out for our partner commentary. It'll probably come out in the next 24 hours or so. Hey, good comment here from George in Bethlehem, North Carolina, saying we have to remember not to paint with too broad of a paintbrush, that there are several good lower court judges as well. We just need to increase their numbers and pray for all of them. Boy, George, you are exactly right there. There are several good lower court judges, absolutely. The problem we've seen, unfortunately, is it seems like the not so good ones are getting their way. That's just what I'm seeing from the news headlines and seeing Trump's issues that he's running into with trying to get things passed. Then it keeps getting halted by these really kind of rogue judges who seem, Sam, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like there are a whole lot of people in power in Washington, D.C. And throughout the country who just hate Trump.
Yes,
and
that seems to be the case.
That's just what they want to do. And if it means creating a do-nothing government, which I'm okay with a do-nothing government in certain instances, but when the government needs to get stuff done and you have people who are just creating the do-nothing government because they want to stop the the agenda of the particular person who's in there, not actually to make the country better, that's a problem.
Right, right. And even if it's Congress doing it, because that's kind of part of their job is to slow things up. But when it's the courts, that really bothers me, especially with the system we have right now, where really what people are doing is judge shopping. You bring a case and then you try to find a judge that is going to rule the way you want based on their political priors. And that's a real problem.
It is a real problem, man. Absolutely.
I do think the tariff thing, however, there are some real questions that need to be solved here. And I'm not sure how some of the conservative justices are going to rule. During the break, we were talking about how definitely all the left-wing judges are going to rule against Donald Trump just because he's Donald Trump.
For the reason we just said.
Yes, exactly.
Which is sad.
I could see Clarence Thomas, a very conservative judge, probably because of his conservatism, saying, does the executive really have the power to do all of this with just the stroke of a pen? I could see him raising that question.
I agree with you completely, Sam. And I also would... I could see a lot of what if that were Clarence Thomas saying. I would agree with it. I mean, there's a serious precedent issue there that we have to see. See, this is something that's happening here, folks. Is Donald Trump is doing a lot of things that I like, but the part of the reason I like them is because I trust Donald Trump doing them. But the precedent that he's setting could be really dangerous because he's not going to be in office forever.
But here's the good thing. We do have, for the most part, a pretty solid conservative Supreme Court. So when these issues come up, they're now going to be ruled on, setting the parameters by a conservative Supreme Court that will probably pave the path going forward. He did this with birthright citizenship. That was a big question of how this is supposed to work. It was challenged in court. I think Trump knew it was going to be challenged in court so that it would be brought to the Supreme Court so we could finally have a decision of how this is supposed to work.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Absolutely. Folks, I see some more comments in there. I appreciate those comments that you've given. I'll try to get to them later on in the show. It's always a joy to get to interact with you all on the chat. So make sure to say hello if you've never said hello before. I know there's a lot of people who watch who don't comment, but please feel free to comment there on the chat. We'd love to be able to give you a shout out and say hello. And if you have a question, put it in there. We'd love to answer.
I love to see new names on the chat.
Awesome.
Makes me so excited.
Yeah, super cool. Folks, quickly here, today's show, it's brought to you in part by our friends at the Timothy Plan. We absolutely love Timothy Plan. Of course, we have our fund model, which is based heavily in the Timothy funds. Can't say enough about how great the Timothy Plan is. Our incoming host, Mark Manillo, was on the board at the Timothy Plan for several years. So just a tremendous relationship that we have with them. And if you're someone who needs a little bit of hand holding with your investments, you're just not so sure about it, Timothy Plan is where you go. So check them out at timothyplan.com. They offer mutual funds, ETFs, retirement plans for investors who just want to please God with their money. So you can check them out, timothyplan.com. All right, Sam, let's jump over to this capitalism story here. So it's looking like support for capitalism seems to be dropping. What can you tell us about this?
Maybe not too surprising either with the rise of Zoran Mamdani. There was also that poll recently that said one of the most respected people in the country, or maybe even the world, was Bernie Sanders by Americans. So yeah, not a great sign. And this poll does seem to suggest that.
People who they polled for that. Wow.
I don't. Maybe the same people in this poll. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it was just like Bernie Sanders' friends or something. I don't know.
They also liked AOC a lot too, so kind of scary.
That is scary stuff. Anyway, sorry, Sam, go ahead.
So according to this survey, only 54% of Americans have a positive image of capitalism. So that's a record low. So only a half of the entire country views the economic engine that fueled this country for the entirety of its history with a positive light. That's not too good. That's down 7 points when the question was first asked 15 years ago by Gallup. The drop in support was mainly driven by Democrats, not too surprising, though there's also been a rather significant decline among independents as well. Meanwhile, 39% of Americans actually say they support socialism, not just have maybe they kind of like it. No, they support it, including 66% of Democrats.
My goodness, when I see those numbers, that's really troubling. I mean, you've got 2/5 of the country supporting socialism. 2/3 of Democrats is not really surprising because of how embedded socialism has become to the modern Democratic Party, which is unfortunate. And that's not to be political. That's just using the eye test here, folks. But I'll tell you this, that's really concerning. It seems like a lot of people either were taught revisionist history in their history classes, or they just didn't pay attention to look at the fact that socialism never works. It has never worked in the history of mankind, and it never will. It's a flawed system. Here's my opinion. When we're talking about capitalism, the people who hate capitalism are, I think, probably more ill-informed than they are ill-willed, probably more foolish than evil, I would say. I'm sure there are a lot of people who hate capitalism for evil reasons, but the majority of capitalism haters probably just hate it because they don't really understand it. I'm trying to be charitable to them. They need to educate themselves. They need to learn more. They probably are young people who are in college or maybe just out of college. They had professors, they had family members who talked down on it, and they assume competition is a bad thing. And they hear all of the lies about socialism, that it provides true equity and fairness for everyone and the government's going to take care of everyone. It's the promise of utopia. Really, folks, it's kind of, I would argue, a twisted version of what God promises to his people, that we're going to live in perfection someday. That's coming for us in eternity, but not right now and not from the all-powerful government.
I think that's the appeal of it, right? Is that it kind of takes interpersonal Christian values of charity and supporting the weak. I mean, kind of all churches and the way they treat their members are socialist in a way. Is if someone needs money, you're going to give them the money, right? Right. But that's how they treat individuals. That's not how governments are supposed to run. Exactly. And when it's applied mass scale, it just doesn't work. Yeah, because that's never what it was intended to do.
That's exactly right. Here's what these folks don't understand. Capitalism is the only economic system that allows for ordinary Joes like them to succeed, because, you said during the break, capitalism really isn't even in and of itself a separate ideology from socialism. It's the foundational free market system that works.
It's just free market
it's
economics.
Just the free market.
Seth, I think the term capitalism was actually created by socialists in the 1800s.
Yeah, the term in and of itself is a negative euphemism to describe something that is just the natural way it's supposed to be. It's like giving a name to gravity, or a name to the laws of science. These are the laws of the free market. This is the way it's supposed to go. Spiritual connection to it. Okay, it really does. And I believe that this includes economics. That economics, the free market, has a spiritual component to it. There are economic agendas that are fundamentally God ordained. In other words, what we know of as capitalism. The way it's just supposed to go. Where you have good, healthy competition, where you have business, you have an exchange of goods, you have a business being able to make money to succeed. Other businesses, if they sprout up, they can compete and maybe do better. That's all part of it. There are certain free market ideas like that one that are God ordained, and there are some that are not. I think free market capitalism is the type of economic system that is supposed to happen in this world. Now,
the way you can kind of know that is that that's just the way economics works.
Yeah, that's
if you
exactly
don't add any external factors.
It's just the way it works naturally. Of course, it's all been flawed by sin. So you might have, the result of competition is some people lose. But that's part of it. That is just part of it. It's not perfect, but it allows for the individual hard work, reaping what you sow. It protects businesses from the infringement of evil statist governments. By the way, a statist government is really just a government that says the all-powerful state will take care of you. Throughout the course of Scripture, particularly when you get to the eschatological books like Daniel and Revelation, a common theme among the anti-Christ world is that they are statist. Whatever your eschatology is, whether you believe it's futuristic right now or in the past, they're statist. So they are governments that say the all-powerful government will take care of you. That's demonic. That's really demonic. And socialism is the economic system that goes with a statist government.
This is even Samuel's warning to the people when they want a king.
It is. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Free market capitalism is the way to go, folks. Socialism in particular, not just socialism, there are other ones as well, but it's especially demonic in its implications because at the core of it is the need to trust in the all-powerful government to take care of you. It's the need to worship government as God. That's really what it is. It's God being replaced by a false God. Free market capitalism is inherently anti-statist, and that's pretty darn good. So the lesson with all this, if you're a young person listening to this show, if you're an old person listening to this show and you agree with us, awesome. The answer is pretty simple for people who are confused. You got to do your research. You have to do your research. Learn your history, folks. I can tell you right now, okay, this is free advice. But you will pay hundreds of thousands of dollars at a university to not hear this. How often has a socialist system of government economics ever worked in history? The answer is never. It has never once worked. It always ends up failing. It always ends up harming the people, and it always results in a centralized statist government that becomes God. Of course, why do you think there are so many statist governments throughout the world, especially where the Christian worldview is not powerful? Because the demons love this. They want people to worship something other than God. And if it's the government, that's great. It's awesome. Folks, we need to do our research. We need to do our homework. Absolutely. Hopefully, this new tide that we're seeing, that we've been part of now for the last 8 months, we'll also see a return to common sense free market economics, because that's the only system.
And I think that's going to help it, because unfortunately, after in the last several years, really decades, we've not had the best representatives of capitalism, because it's been more cronyism. I mean, a great example of this, even though I love Donald Trump, is that Intel deal, where you have the state and a private corporation joining forces, the state really propping up this company, and people start to think that's what capitalism is.
Exactly right. It's not just Democrats, folks. You got a lot of Republicans, some of the deep state guys, and even that move that Trump made. Trump's not a deep state guy, but even that move was a dangerous move away from the natural free market economics that God has ordained. Interesting stuff here, folks. If you have to leave us, we hope that you will join us for the show tomorrow. Again, Mark Manila is going to be on with us for the majority of tomorrow's show. I'm really looking forward to that, to having Mark on. Again, he'll be joining us tomorrow. If you have to leave us, hope you have a great day. Rest of you, more financial issues coming around the corner of this break after this. Stick with us. Here at Financial Issues, we've been hard at work making your partnership experience even better than ever. With the major website upgrade, you will experience the following: a smarter portfolio tracker, making it easier to manage and follow the Financial Issues strategy, a new partner dashboard, your investments at a glance, a streamlined partner hub, also an updated buy list every week, consistently reviewed and maintained by the Financial Issues analyst team. We've been getting feedback from a lot of excited partners.
I really love the new website. It's great. So thankful and blessed with the new website. It's amazing. Thank you so much for all the hard work.
Now, even though we've improved, one thing hasn't changed. That's our commitment to biblically responsible investing and faithful stewardship. We remain dedicated to equipping you with the best tools to honor God with your finances. If you've been thinking about becoming a partner, now is the perfect time to take the next step. Sign up today at financialissues.org.
Make a point. No matter what happens, I'll always be there for you.
I know.
Back at it here on Financial Issues, folks. Thankful for each of you. Again, we'll get to those chat comments a little bit later on in the show. Let me just tell you here, folks, September is a very important part of the year for us. Just like the federal government, our fiscal year also ends on September 30th. In the coming weeks, we're going to be sharing a little bit more about that. Folks, we have a really tremendous opportunity here for some really good things ahead. We have the chance to finish in the black once again, which, considering everything this ministry has been through the last 3 years, is just remarkable for how many times we've still been able to finish in the black. It's a testament to you all, a testament to God's grace on our ministry. But we have a chance to do that one more time. I'll just say this, because we're going to talk more in depth about it in the next 2 weeks. But if you are considering any kind of year-end giving, and you'd like to maybe bump that up to now, if you're considering giving something to Financial Issues, would you consider doing that for these next 2 weeks for our campaign? I'm not saying you have to do anything about it right now, but just think about it. Maybe ask the Lord, how would you like me to consider blessing Financial Issues? If it's financial, we would love that. If it's just prayer, if it's telling someone, if it's telling your pastor, if it's offering to even do a BRI Sunday school class or something like that, that'd be amazing. So just consider doing that. We'll talk about that more in the next couple weeks. But as of right now, let's get to the markets here as they just opened up. Let's see if my screen will refresh. Hopefully that'll happen. As it has refreshed, the markets are all positive slightly. Dow Jones is just above the flat line. The S&P 500 just above 0.1%. And the NASDAQ, once again, building on its record finish, is up right near 0.5% or so, right around that area there. Oil
up pumped for that Apple unveiling today, their expo where they're going to announce a brand new iPhone that's exactly the same as the previous iPhone, but costs $500 more.
That's how they make their business. Capitalism, right there. There you go. So that's fun stuff for sure. Oil up to around $63.25 a barrel this morning. The U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, meanwhile, is up slightly from where it was yesterday, creeping up towards 4.1% there. Once again, folks, most of Wall Street is just keeping an eye on PPI and CPI, which comes out tomorrow. I think we get PPI, and then Thursday we get CPI. So that's what we're looking like here. Sam, let's turn our attention now to the employment sector and look at the difference in numbers, I think, between foreign-born employment and natural-born employment. I think it's good news. Tell me what you think about this, Sam.
It's a pretty big reversal from the Biden administration where foreign-born workers were booming above natural-born citizens, but that's not the case under President Donald Trump, dropping, that is, foreign-born workers by 822,000 since last August. That number does include both legal and illegal immigrants, though I'm pretty sure we're safe to say the vast majority of that probably applies to illegal immigrants. Not 100% sure, but that's a pretty good educated guess right there. Meanwhile, on the flip side, the number of American-born workers has increased by over 2.75 million, Seth, during that same time period. So, by the way, this is also having an effect on how some people are interpreting the jobs data. In fact, last week, Chicago Fed President Austin Goolsbee, who's pretty friendly to the left, he's not really a right-winger at all or friendly to Trump, he pointed to Trump's immigration policy as perhaps one of the main reasons for the summer's job data being so weak. And he said because of that, he actually thinks the economy is much stronger than it appears on paper, saying the core of the labor market is probably still pretty good. We're just shifting away from foreign-born workers to American workers. And in fact, because of that, he said he might keep interest rates the same. Not what we want, but still, it is interesting to see that analysis that he's working with is different than what the left is saying. This is something also noted by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Here he is.
Austin Goolsbee, who's head of the Chicago Fed and probably the most partisan person at the Federal Reserve in leadership, came out and said, I don't know if these numbers were that weak. I don't know if I'm going to vote for a cut in September because it may have something to do with the immigration deportations. So this is why we need good data.
It is indeed, Seth. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting, Sam. I think it's a great sign, folks. I really do. you have to consider, okay, what would that mean if more people catch wind of what Goolsbee is saying and maybe they decide not to cut rates? But regardless of that, I think there's a bigger picture here that we have to see. I think it's good to see American-born workers re-entering the workforce. That's a really good thing. It's a great sign. And listen, what I'm about to say says nothing about the need, and I need to give this disclaimer. I'm sorry to have to do this. I wish I didn't have to, but what I'm about to say says nothing about the need for Christians to be kind to the sojourner in their midst, to spread the gospel to the foreigner, to be kind, to welcome, to do all that stuff. I agree, regardless of where they came from, regardless of how they got here. That said, it is the God-given responsibility of governments to uphold and protect the rights of citizens first. A lot of people will hear that and they will get angry with me. It is a God-given responsibility of governments to do this. They must uphold the rights of citizens over and against the rights of non-citizens. They have been given stewardship responsibility by God to protect their citizens first. It's very, very important, folks. And I think as a result, American citizens should be able to have the first crack at opportunities for employment more than non-citizens, even legal ones. And Sam, you mentioned probably, in all likelihood, most of those numbers are illegal. We're not 100% sure. Certainly there are legal ones mixed in there as well. But folks, listen, it's not racist to say that. It's not unloving to say that. It's simply stating the facts concerning God's design for government, that it is the government's job to protect its own people first. That's a good thing. That's a wonderful thing. Israel had this in the Old Covenant. God established this for nations in the New Covenant. I think particularly that is an aspect of a Christian nation, that a Christian nation protects the rights of its people first. That's a good thing. This means, in this instance, the government upholds immigration laws that favor and protect natural-born citizens. They protect the safety of natural-born citizens and the opportunity of natural-born citizens. And also, I would include foreign-born citizens in that as well. I believe that it's a wonderful thing when a foreigner comes to this country the right way and applies for citizenship and receives citizenship. Then they get the blessings of citizenship even though they weren't born here. I think that's wonderful. This has to be upheld over and against that of immigrants, all of them, especially over criminal illegal immigrants, though. Because not only are they immigrants and they don't have the same rights as citizens, but they are also criminals and must be treated as such, I think. This mindset, folks, of protecting foreigners above citizens is biblical. And I would point you to 1 Timothy 5:8, which commands men to provide for the needs of their own households. That if a man does not do that, he's denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. That is particularly talking about households within the church, the family household. But I believe it must be applied to the system of government as well, that the government must protect and uphold its own citizens first, and if not, it's not doing its job. And so I think we absolutely have to see that there for sure. This excites me. I want to see more American-born workers getting more and more jobs in our country. I don't think it should necessarily be government jobs. I think the free market, again, as we go back to it, the free market should be allowed to work itself out, and these jobs should be in the private sector. I think that's excellent to see that there. So hopefully I didn't make too many people angry with that take, but I believe it's true. A couple quick things here that I think is looking pretty good. One of them in particular, Trump said this: he's going to direct the Department of Education to protect praying in public schools. Wow. Sam, when I saw that headline, I was like, holy smokes, this is amazing.
Pretty thrilled about that.
I'm pretty thrilled about this too. Now, some people will say it's an infringement on religious liberty. I don't think so. I think it's a protection of religious liberty. I think we have to remember, folks, the founding of our country, the founding fathers, the idea of religious liberty was not to be pluralistic, but it was specifically to protect the Christian faith from an infringement of an all-powerful government. I'm so in favor of that. I love to see this, and I hope that we'll see more and more praying in the public school, that this will empower teachers and students to be able to do this. Here comes Craig Halgard with today's Ag Update, and then we'll be back with more financial issues on the other side of the break.
This is Craig Halgard with your financial issues update. Corn experienced a low volume session that saw some buying come in towards the close. The U.S. continues to maintain a minor advantage over Brazilian corn delivered into Asia, and the export interest certainly reflects that. We're starting to see harvest activity pick up here in the U.S., with 25% of the crop mature and 4% harvested thus far. December corn finished today 3 3/4 cents higher at $4.21 3/4. Soybeans moved higher in spite of concerns over the lack of Chinese demand. China reported another strong month of soybeans. Some analysts have speculated that the Chinese import program this year is front-loaded in anticipation that talks between China and the U.S. won't resolve themselves in a timely fashion. Meanwhile, out here on the fruited plains of the U.S., 21 leaves as harvest quickly approaches. November beans were 6 3/4 cents higher yesterday at 10.33 3/4. Wheat saw Russian FOB prices drop by $2 per metric ton yesterday, but here in the U.S. our market was higher as we saw funds taking profits from their short positions. Minneapolis December wheat rose by 10 3/4 cents, closed at 5.76 3/4. Kansas City is 12 cents higher at 5.17 1/4, and Chicago was 4 1/4 better at 5.23 3/4. Cotton futures remain confined to a very narrow trading range. Yesterday had the December futures ending the session 18 points higher at 66.21. Livestock futures turned in a mixed performance. October live cattle were 17.5 cents and 80 cents per hundredweight. October feeder cattle were $1.27.5 higher as they ended the session at $359.17.5 per hundred. And we had October lean hog futures 87.5 cents lower at $95.15 per hundredweight. Class 3 milk futures just continue to extend their losing streak. Yesterday saw the October futures finish the day 2 points lower, settling at 16.87. This has been Craig Haugard with your Financial Issues Ag Update. We'll be right back with more financial issues after this.
I will end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender.
Diversity, equity, inclusion. Hiring on the basis of race and gender. You don't see the problem here?
What was once a widely practiced program is now being abandoned at an incredible rate.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based.
Companies are making big changes. Money talks, so why not have it advocate for what you believe in? Get started today at financialissues.org.
Where's Mima? We found out Shepard's diagnosis when I was about 17 weeks pregnant. We learned that he was going to need a series of surgeries after he was born in order to give him what they considered a normal life. And we weren't sure how this worked.
Yeah, very emotional, very, very broken. And as my wife just said, not sure how this worked. And called Samaritan, and they said, you just go have that baby. You leave the rest to us.
And just to hear the confidence on the other end of the phone of this is not something that you need to be concerned about at all. You focus on the health of your family, the health of your baby, and we will walk with you every step of the way.
If a woman sees her baby on ultrasound, it doubles the likelihood that she'll choose life. And on top of that, we share the gospel of Jesus Christ with her. This is why you should support preborn. The donations that you give actually make a difference. Last year, 59,000 babies were saved because of what you have done with your generosity.
To find out how you can support the life-saving mission of Preborn, go to preborn.com/FISM.
The opinions and recommendations expressed on this program do not necessarily represent the opinions of the station or any of the program sponsors. Additionally, all products or services offered by the program sponsors may not be known by the program.
Folks, I'm enjoying the conversation today with you. I hope you're enjoying it as well and finding it edifying. Sam, we were talking during the break. Where is the outcry from the left? So they're all about, open borders and bringing in these refugees, and even frankly some big name celebrity pastors who I won't mention right here, but many of them have been called out publicly by some other people with much larger platform than I have. But where was the outcry and the call for aid and for help when you have Cuban refugees fleeing socialism, coming here looking for freedom, and now all of a sudden the left remains silent? It's pretty bad.
Well, I can't speak to the celebrity pastors, but I think we all know about the left. It's because when they get here, they're going to vote Republican.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So folks, we have to see what's really behind this. And Sam, with some of those celebrity pastors, there are folks. I mean, listen, you have to be really careful with who you listen to and who you get your word of God fed to. It's far better to have a faithful local pastor than to listen to a celebrity pastor every day. Not saying that they're all bad, but there are a lot of them out there who have, unfortunately, some pretty insidious connections to large left-leaning think tanks and hedge funds as well, namely George Soros and others like that. We got to be really careful about this. Really, really careful. That's all I'll say about that. Didn't mean to go on a tangent with that, but boy, it really is true. Let's get to a chat rundown here. So many of you on the chat. I appreciate the encouraging words. George saying you're on a roll today, Seth. George, I appreciate it. You guys keep me going, man. It's awesome. Great to see you. Great to see both the Bryans in there. Claude, Americans need to relearn how to work. Boy, they sure do, man. If people just learned how to work and work hard and enjoy their work and find meaning and fulfillment in that work, I think it would just be an amazing thing. I really do. Dave and Darlene, great to see you guys there as well. A couple more comments up here. We've got James in Texas. Good to see you there, James. Let me see here. George in North Carolina saying you replace God with government and you're done. Amen, brother. That's right on, my friend. Yep. Too many people view the government as their God. And that's pretty bad stuff. Dr. Darrell in Texas, good to see you, saying, I wonder how many of those polled in the poll we mentioned earlier, Sam, about capitalism, actually know the difference between capitalism and socialism. Many don't even know the difference between a man and a woman. You're right on there.
I was actually thinking that. Did the poll define its terms? Because I'm not sure it did.
Absolutely. But I'm sure that there are probably a lot of people who don't know the difference there, and they just don't know their history. They haven't learned what they need to know. Brian from Missouri saying, where were the lower court judges at when Biden and Harris were flying in hundreds of thousands of illegals into our country on the taxpayers' dime? Good question there, Brian.
They were busy.
They were busy doing other stuff. That's right. They were just, they must have missed that one, I think. It's good stuff. Good to see you there as well. There was another good comment, Robert, on our verse of the day today, is saying the question isn't to do good or not. Obviously, we have to do good. The question is, what is good? Even our Lord asked them, why do you call me good? How do you define good is a tough question. Robert, it really is. I mean, I think the answer pretty simply is whatever is the good thing to do is the God-honoring thing to do. And so that might feel like something that is not so good to do. It might mean confronting someone. It might mean calling someone out in their sin. It doesn't feel good, but it is a good thing. That's exactly right, is we need to know what true goodness is, and we need to pursue that. And we can only find that ultimately our example is in Christ. And how we find that example, of course, is found in the Word of God. It's pretty simple. We had a great comment yesterday. Sam, you want to read this one? When we were talking about our roles for the ministry and what we'll be doing as Mark's coming in here, what did Rich from Ohio say? This was good.
Well, this is because you might have some more time, Seth, and he wants to know, Rich does this mean you're going to have just a little bit more time to develop your Elmer Fudd speak for the Fed watching updates? What do you think?
I think so, Rich. Absolutely. My Elmer Fudd voice has come out accidentally because, as folks tell me, I tend to talk really fast. So I'll switch my R's with my W's. So, Rich, I'll tell you, you bet, or should I say, which you bet. Anyway, stupid joke there. So thank you for
question.
That, Rich. Yeah, it is. It's a good. It's a really good question.
Yeah,
Rich.
right.
So, there you go. Sam, let's get to Denver. Denver's got a question. Denver's a listener from CSN. Denver, I appreciate you finding us, man.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. What's Denver asking?
Well, first he says, hello, everyone at FIS. 2 years now, and he's nosed around the website and just wanted to know if you call companies income instead of dividend. Also, what brokerage companies do you recommend? Thanks for all you do. Love the show. I listen to y'all on CNN on the phone app. God bless.
Awesome. Thank you, Denver. We appreciate you, brother. Glad you found us on CSN. Love our CSN audience. It's cool. So you got two questions here, really. First question is income versus dividend. You'll notice on our website, we tend to use the phrase income when referring to the type of companies that pay a dividend. So the word that we use is income, but functionally they really both mean the same thing. You'll notice if you're a partner, we have an income model. For instance, we have a growth and income model. Once again, each of those models is, depending on which one you're in, heavily concentrated into companies that produce income. The growth and income model is less heavily concentrated. The income model is much more heavily concentrated in companies that are income producers. So that said, what you're referring to, Denver, is really just two ways to say the exact same thing. Dividend versus income for our purposes is pretty much the same thing. It's kind of like me calling Megan my wife or my bride. You know, two words to describe the same thing. The technical definition is a dividend is a specific type of income. So income can be, you know, you can work a job and get an income, or a dividend, you can earn that income through investment. So it's investment income. Same exact difference there. So yes, if you hear us use those terms interchangeably, chances are they mean the same thing.
I don't want to confuse anyone, but I do want to clarify. You might have an occasional stock that's a growth stock, or maybe even an aggressive stock. That still does pay a dividend, but it's not going to be labeled as an income stock because the purpose of it is not for you to gain income. However, every income stock is going to pay a dividend.
Exactly. Yep. Great stuff, Sam. Thanks for that clarification. So that's your first question, Denver. Second question, what brokerage companies do we recommend? This is a good question. It's one we've gotten before, but the simple answer, Denver, is we don't recommend any one brokerage platform in particular. It's really up to you. We have a lot of partners who use Fidelity. For the record, I also use Fidelity, and I've enjoyed it. Some use Charles Schwab, some use Vanguard, some use others. We had a tongue-in-cheek reference to Robinhood yesterday, which I won't promote Robinhood, but there's people who do that for certain things. You're just keep in mind, Denver, and this is for all of you wondering, just remember, you're not investing in the brokerage company itself. You're just using it. So it doesn't need to be a biblically responsible brokerage company. I'd love it if there was one out there. I haven't found one yet. You're just using their goods or services. So simple answer, it really is up to you. Now, let me give one quick note for you here, Denver, and partners in the chat. You can verify this because I think I've seen this from some of you. Certain brokerages we found out from partners don't allow you to buy certain Timothy funds. I'm not sure why it is. I don't know if they have something against Timothy because Timothy is overtly Christian, or if it just is what it is. You just have to be careful with that, especially, I'll tell you, Denver, if you are using our fund model. So if you're using the fund model, it's heavily concentrated in Timothy plan funds, and you want to be able to have the freedom to buy those funds if they're on the buy list. So if your brokerage doesn't allow you to buy Timothy funds, that might be a reason enough to switch to a different brokerage account. Just that's something to be aware of, you know, I would say there. But really, Denver, it's up to you. You pick the brokerage account that works and you go to work. So my guess is, being a partner for 2 years, you've probably already picked one. But if you would like, you're welcome to respond again and, share which one you've picked and if it's worked for you. And again, if you don't like it, you can always switch. Again, you really can't go wrong with any of the main ones. Again, you just have to be careful when it comes to the certain brokerages that don't allow the purchase for Timothy plan funds.
I tend to say whatever one makes the most sense to you. So when you log on to their website or you're using their app, the interface makes sense. You get what you're doing, you get how to make a trade, make a sell, and it all just flows together. So whatever one works for your user experience, that's probably the one you want to pick.
Exactly. That's well said. And most of these brokerages have websites. They have apps as well, and they're pretty user friendly. You can make trades in a matter of seconds. That's one of the things that I love about mine. I can go right on the app and just make a trade, and it's processed and completed in probably a span of 10 seconds. So good stuff there, Denver. I really appreciate you asking. And again, I appreciate you listening to us on CSN. We do love our CSN audience. That's a big radio audience, so we're so thankful for them. Good stuff. One more time, we'll look at the markets here before the close of today's show. The Dow Jones has dipped negative, but only just slightly. The S&P 500 still in the positive, and the NASDAQ still building off of that record finish from yesterday. It's up just a little bit high, probably 1/8 of a percentage point as we sit right now. Just a reminder for you folks as well, keep an eye out for the partner commentary that's going to be coming out likely later tonight or tomorrow morning. And again, tomorrow, so excited. Mark is coming back on with us. We're going to have a great time with Mark. I appreciate that. I'll say this now, chat. If you've got questions for Mark, get them in. You can put them in right now, or you can put them in tomorrow during the first segment. Mark's going to be joining us probably in the second segment of the show, so you'll have time to get your questions in. But make sure that you get those questions in for him if you've got them, for sure. Well, folks, I think that's about all we have here. Let's see if we can get any more chat comments here. Some of you sharing about your experience that you've had with brokerages, which is great. it's just important to be mindful of certain brokerages and what they allow and what they don't allow.
I see Brian points out that apparently one of us accidentally called CSN CNN.
Oh,
we are not available on CNN.
That's right. CNN does not air our show, and so it'd be great if they did. I'm sure a lot of people there could probably learn a thing or two about biblically responsible investing, but they do not air us. CSN, that's exactly right. Thank you for that clarifier there, Brian. Great to be here with you all, folks. Keep in mind, everything you have belongs to the Lord. It's fun to get to do this. It's fun to get to know that you make an impact. It's a joy to do it, make an impact with the money that God has given you. No matter how small it is, folks, it might feel small, but the more of us that band together to do this, the more of an impact it's going to be for the glory of God and for the spread of the kingdom. That's what we're all about here. Grateful for each of you. God willing, we'll do it again tomorrow. See you next time.
If we ever forget that we're one nation under God, then we will be a nation gone under.
Thank you for joining us. This has been an FISM production.